Hi, and welcome to section 5.4a, which is sum and difference formulas. In this section and the next, we're going to go ahead and study the uses of several trig identities and formulas. So let's take a look at this next page. Here you have sum and difference formulas for sine, cosine, and tangent. There is a formula worksheet or handout in the handout section of chapter 5 that has all of the formulas that we're going to use for the next couple of days. What I would do if I were you is either work with a book right now or just make sure that you go ahead and print out a copy of that and you get these formulas down. What we're going to do first of all is we're going to do an example that shows how to use these sum and difference formulas. We're going to go ahead and find the exact value of the cosine of 75. Now, if you were to do that on your calculator, you would get a number that you would have to round. So finding an exact value means that we want to use our unit circle. What you have to do with these types of problems is see how you can break up that 75 into two values that are on your unit circle. So hopefully you see that 75 is equal to 30 plus 45. I have cosine here, and I am adding two numbers together to get 75. The formula then that I'm going to use is cosine of u plus v, is equal to cosine u cosine v minus sine u sine v. My u is equal to 30 and my v is equal to 45. Substituting these values into my sum formula, I get that the sum of 30 plus 45 is equal to cosine of u, cosine of 30, cosine of v, cosine of 45, minus sine of 30. Oops, I forgot my n there. Sine of 45. Now, from my unit circle knowledge, I can just go ahead and remember what these values are. The cosine of 30 is 1/2, cosine of 30 is square root of 3 over 2 times the cosine of 45, which is root 2 over 2. And then I will subtract. The sine of 30 is 1/2, and the sine of 45, so times square root of 2 over 2. Simplifying this, I will get the square root of 6 over 4 minus the square root of 2 over 4, and that is equal to the square root of 6 minus the square root of 2. I cannot combine those because I'm subtracting, all over 4. Let's go ahead and look at one more example. And so what they're asking me to do here is find the exact value of the sine of pi over 12. I have to find the exact value, which means I cannot plug this into my calculator. I need to use my unit circle and somehow find two values that are on my unit circle that will add or subtract to give me pi over 12. This part of it takes a little bit of trial and error sometimes, but I know that pi over 12 can be written as 4 pi over 12 minus 3 pi over 12. And I picked these two values because they can be reduced to values that are on my unit circle. 4 pi over 12 is going to give me pi over 3, and 3 pi over 12 gives me pi over 4. I'm going to use the sign equation, and I'm going to use the subtraction or the difference because pi over 12 is pi over 3 minus pi over 4. I'm going to plug it all into the calculator. Here's my formula, sorry. I have the sine of u minus v is equal to the sine of u, cosine of v, and this is just directly from that formula sheet, minus the cosine of u, sine of v. And in this case, u is equal to pi over 3, and v is equal to pi over 4. So plugging these values in, I have the sine of pi over 3 minus pi over 4, which is actually pi over 12, right, which is what we want. And that is equal to the sine of u, so the sine of pi over 3 times the cosine of v, pi over 4, minus the cosine of u, which is the cosine of pi over 3, times the sine of pi over 4. Now I'm going to get an exact value because all of these are on my unit circle. The sine of pi over 3 is root 3 over 2. Cosine of pi over 4, root 2 over 2, minus the cosine of pi over 3, which is 1/2, times the sine of pi over 4, which is root 2 over 2. And that's going to give me square root of 6 over 4 minus the square root of 2 over 4. And if I write that as one fraction, square root of 6 minus the square root of 2, I cannot combine those. You are subtracting over 4. This concludes the examples for 5.4a, sum and difference formulas. If you have any questions, please make a note of it and ask them in class tomorrow.